A fresh report regarding an upgraded front design for the iPhone 17 Pro has surfaced while the argument on whether Apple will retain the stovetop camera setup this year or transition to a pixel-like horizontal island keeps under progress. The iPhone 14 Pro dropped the notch for a dynamic island in 2022. No modifications to the shape-shifting cutout have been made in the 2 years subsequently. This year we'll see changes based on a leak from the Chinese outlet MyDrivers. The article reiterates a prediction initially made by Analyst Jeff Pu in May, suggesting the iPhone 17 Pro will have a smaller dynamic island. Apple will employ metalens for the Face ID system to make the cutout smaller, even though it is not expected to put the Face ID system under the screen to minimize the size of the dynamic island. Metalens, sometimes known as metasurface lens, is an optical lens using nanostructured materials instead of depending on the curvature of their surface to control light, unlike conventional lenses that smartphone makers now employ. Their flat and light nature lets businesses replace heavy-duty conventional lenses and other optical components with them, therefore freeing space. Along with a concept picture showing what the smaller dynamic island could look like, the report also states the phone will feature thinner bezels. So even though an old-last iPhone is not coming anytime soon, the iPhone 17 Pro would be an essential step towards it. Analyst Pu suggested that only the iPhone 17 Pro Max would have a metalens, so the other 3 devices on the lineup could have the same size dynamic island as current models. The video nevertheless shows a probable look into the iPhone's future, which is likely to go in the direction of slimmer. After all, it cannot be discounted that the design of the iPhone 17 Air makeover will not be embraced for the 3 remaining iPhone models. In 2025, the slimmer iPhone 17 Air will presumably only have a single camera and generally mid-range specs overall, not a triple camera like in the Pro variant. At least, this is what technology sources such as The Information now assume. Whether the changed camera design in the style of the Google Pixel camera visor will be used for the final iPhone 17 Pro versions has not yet been proved, although a leak hinted at this around 2 weeks ago. However, it is still too early for solid leaks about the final iPhone 17 Pro Max design, so the video should be considered for what it is, a concept video, which we nonetheless find interesting. iPhone 17 Air suddenly makes a lot more sense given this new rumor. Last week, the Wall Street Journal revealed that the iPhone 17 Air will cost less than the iPhone Pro models, despite the long-standing notion that the next ultra-thin iPhone will be even more expensive than the iPhone Pro Max versions. With that being the case, the phone actually makes more sense than ever. The Wall Street Journal said the following about the long-rumored iPhone 17 Air. Starting next year, Apple aims to offer an iPhone that will be smaller than the about 8mm profile of current models, said sources familiar with the company's intentions. The model is meant to be cheaper than Pro models, using a reduced camera system to cut costs. This goes against what had been previously reported. Back in May, when The Information disclosed some of the first details concerning the device, this was what they stated. The thin iPhone might be released concurrently with the iPhone 17, expected in September 2025, according to the 3 sources with direct knowledge and 2 others familiar with the project. It might be priced higher than the iPhone Pro Max, presently Apple's most expensive model starting at $1,200, they added. Why does these matters? Obviously, more expensive than the iPhone Pro Max suggests a price tag of at least $1,199, potentially even as high as $1,299. For a slimmer iPhone with less features, a degraded battery life, and a single camera. That didn't seem particularly worth it. Sure, it would have looked extremely great, and perhaps would have established the framework for future iPhones to be slimmer, but it wouldn't have made too much sense to buy. More lately, we'd even heard that the iPhone 17 Air will lack a second speaker, relying exclusively on the earpiece to output audio. With so many sacrifices, it never would have made sense to pay such a huge premium for. However, if subsequent reports are to hold true, we're now anticipating a model cheaper than the Pro ones. It isn't clear what this implies exactly, because there might potentially be a price bump with the iPhone 17 Pro, but nonetheless, the iPhone 17 Air should come in under $1,000. If there is no price hike on the iPhone 17 Pro, then the 17 Air may potentially go as low as $899, taking the same price point as iPhone 16 Plus. That dramatically affects the value proposition there, putting the new model up to $400 cheaper than we first expected. Sure, you'd still be losing out on battery life and a second camera compared to the iPhone 16 Plus, and you'd also be missing a second speaker. All that being said though, you would be receiving the snazzy, glossy-looking and significantly thinner iPhone for the same price you paid last year. Apple is probably relying on it being the appeal. This will be the first iPhone in a big number of years that'll look truly different compared to the prior model. Furthermore, all 4 variations are rumored to be packed with promotion technology, permitting a smooth 120Hz refresh rate that boosts scrolling, video playback, and overall visual clarity. Although exact specifics surrounding the camera specifications remain hidden, it is realistic to expect considerable enhancements in the upcoming iPhone series, in line with Apple's continued dedication to improving its photography features with each iteration. Enhanced artificial intelligence capabilities and revolutionary camera technologies may be offered, offering superior low-light performance and enhanced picture processing. The projected design and features of the iPhone new series promise a more streamlined and slimmer profile than its predecessors. The base model is planned to have a 6.6-inch display. It is anticipated that at least one of the versions will include Apple's proprietary Wi-Fi 7 chip. Now, the question is, will the next iPhone run iOS 19? A recent source has claimed that the next edition of iOS won't be dropping any models, but iPad owners won't be so lucky. Owning a phone is typically unavoidable these days, and part of that is ensuring sure your device's software is up to date. However, phone manufacturers can only maintain a gadget for so long, and with each succeeding new release, another phone or tablet is left by the wayside. In light of this, a recent report has given us an indication of what to expect from the next generation of Apple's software updates, including what will and won't be supported. The story comes from French website iPhone Soft, who claim an unidentified source revealed which Apple devices will be in line for the next wave of updates. Firstly, the good news: it appears like iOS 19 will be available for the majority of devices, from the iPhone XS to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. However, older phones likely won't have access to the majority of new capabilities, with most of those presumably being saved for at least the iPhone 15 Pro Max. However, it appears that the iPad won't be so lucky with the release of iPadOS 19. According to the rumor, the next upgrade will purportedly require an A12 chip to function. As such, the iPad 7 and the iPad Pro 2017, both of which feature the A10 chip, will not be able to receive the update. The update will only be accessible on the iPad Mini 5, iPad 8th Gen, 3rd Gen iPad Airs, the 2018 iPad Pros and after. There's still a lot we don't know about the next wave of iOS and iPadOS releases. However, they'll undoubtedly incorporate further Apple Intelligence enhancements, presumably at a faster rate than the initial introduction. However, with the release of iOS 18.2, Apple has made a major step with technologies like visual intelligence and Gemoji. Apple Intelligence is also able to provide summaries for the user, but that has recently come under fire as being erroneous. It should be emphasized that this rumor comes from an unknown source, although it wouldn't be shocking to see some iPad models discontinued. While your device will work without the newest updates, we would always encourage attempting to keep up to date to make sure you have all the important security patches. Finally, here are 5 most fascinating Apple gadgets to look forward to in 2025. Apple had a very busy 2024, launching everything from the Apple Vision Pro to tepid reviews, to the iPhone 16 series to good reviews, and finally getting Apple Intelligence off the ground. So what about 2025? We could see a whole new iPhone design in the iPhone 17 Air, the M4 chip coming to the MacBook Air, and a completely new product category for Apple with its reported Smart Home Hub. The company may potentially launch its own video doorbell with Face ID. Here's a peek at the prospective products coming out of Cupertino in the future year. 1. iPhone 17 and iPhone 17 Air. Normally it's the Pro or Pro Max that winds up capturing the spotlight with a new iPhone launch, but this year the predicted iPhone 17 Air could wind up attracting the most attention. As the thinnest iPhone ever, the iPhone 17 Air will apparently replace the iPhone Plus in Apple's lineup, giving buyers a rather substantial 6.6-inch screen in a design that measuring just 0.24 inches thin. There are reports, meanwhile, that the iPhone 17 Air could have just a single rear camera. Meanwhile, the ordinary iPhone 17 is believed to finally have a Pro Motion display and updated 24 megapixels front camera, while the iPhone 17 Pro Max could include a crisper 48 megapixels telephoto camera. We're not sure which models will get it, but at least one iPhone 17 device is believed to boast an Apple-made 5G modem. 2. iPhone SE 4. Rumored to come as soon as March, the iPhone SE 4 will replace the old iPhone SE 2022 in Apple's lineup. Expect a full-screen design with no more Touch ID button and a considerably larger 6.1-inch OLED display, up from 4.7 inches, with Face ID. Other speculations hint to a sharper 48 megapixels main camera, an A18 chip with Apple Intelligence, and Apple's own 5G modem coupled with a larger battery. Assuming Apple keeps the price under $500, the iPhone SE 4 should be a smash. 3. AirPods Pro 3. I wouldn't say the AirPods Pro 3 are a lock for 2025 given that we just got the new AirPods 4, but the speculations are heating up as we go into the new year. The new AirPods Pro 3 could feature a thinner design and/or casing, and we predict a new H-series chip that should increase sound quality and hopefully active noise cancellation. Apple is also believed to be working on measuring your heart rate and temperature through the AirPods, but there's no assurance these changes will make it into the AirPods Pro 3. Based on the reports up until now, heart rate monitoring would be more likely and make wearing an Apple Watch less required. 4. Apple Watch Ultra 3. The normal Apple Watch garnered all the attention in 2024 with the arrival of the Apple Watch 10 with its bigger display, thinner design, and sleep apnea detection. So it makes reasonable that Apple will turn its attention to the Apple Watch Ultra 3 in 2025. The rumored updates for this wearable so far include hypertension diagnosis, messages via satellite support on your wrist, and 5G connectivity. I'd also expect greater display options. We could also observe blood pressure tracking for the first time. 5. Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence released a variety of fascinating features in iOS 18.2, like ChatGPT integration, Gemoji, and Image Playground. But according to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, iOS 18.4 might be a game-changer for Siri. Apple has already teased Siri receiving so-called personal context with a forthcoming update, which would allow the assistant to learn more about you from the actions you conduct on your iPhone and via your conversations. This will include texts, emails, and notes. So, for example, you'll be able to ask for a confirmation number buried in an email. In addition, Siri will be able to perform actions on your behalf in third-party apps. We'll have to see how this plays out, but it seems good. So, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more exciting tech news and updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.